All right, very good evening, everyone. As you see on the screen, we're live each Monday night. I do know this isn't Monday night, but we're doing this broadcast a couple of days early, so we will not have a broadcast Monday night. There you see on your screen the team's guide to social media and mobile devices, 21 tips to wise posting in an insecure world by Jonathan McKee. So we're going through this book chapter by chapter, really tip by tip now. And we've already discussed a few things, of course, even before we got to our tips. Also, let me remind you that, and this is one of those chapters too, that there's nothing that most of the things we'll talk about in this chapter is not really right or wrong, either way you do it. But there's just some suggestions to make maybe our social media footprint a little less as far as people knowing where we are at the time we're doing things. Of course, some of that goes out the window if they recognize you and recognize where you are, but there are some privacy settings that we're going to look at tonight that will help you more of a just a knowledgeable some information for parents and for all of us, for our kids as well, to make sure that we understand there are settings in our phone and on social media that can help us lessen those who would want to know where we are that shouldn't know. It would lessen their ability to do that. Again, if you want your settings wide open, that's totally up to you. You know, other things that we've talked about, several things that we've looked at 3 weeks into this. This is lesson number 4, are not necessarily things right or wrong. For instance, if you want to give your kid a cell phone at the age of 10, there's definitely nothing wrong with that. There's nothing sinful in that. So again, let's make sure we keep this in context of what we're looking at and suggestions we're talking about. If I set up rules for my kids or did set up rules for my kids and you don't set those same rules up, that's fine. That doesn't mean that you're right and I'm wrong, or I'm right and you're wrong. We're just learning together to try to get better for our kids and for ourselves. So we began 4 weeks ago and looking at that our mom and dad, we need to walk through this social media conversation with our children. It's not going away. There are great things about it. There are bad things about it. But remember that your phone is not the problem. We've looked at that. You are the problem, and I am the problem. Just as cars are not problems, but many accidents kill people every year. And that is due to the driver of the car. Accidents happen. Accidents happen when it's no one's fault necessarily. It's just an accident. There are deadly accidents that happen that no one's really, you could say, I mean, I guess we could pinpoint fault maybe if you changed a lane when you shouldn't change, but those are not necessarily right or wrong things, I don't think, as far as going away from what Scripture says. So last week we looked at tip number 1, and it was entitled Love the One You're With. And we talked about being social with one another, to each other, in a setting, in a room with one another, and put our phones down to be able to talk with one another. And that's the social part of what we were looking at. So also remember that these again are things that we have to change for our families maybe, and change for ourselves. I encouraged us to even start turning our phones off once a day. Have you been doing that? How's that going? Maybe you skipped some days. Maybe you did it some days. How did that feel? I hope if you've done that, I think it probably felt good to you. I know it feels good to me when I actually go through with that and do that. Get away from your phone sometimes. It's good to do. I hope we've even seen through this past week when we were without power that family time is good, quiet time is good, and unfortunately it seems kind of odd, doesn't it, when we're all home together. There's no TVs on, there's no lights on, and because we're just not used to that. So tonight we're going to look at tip number 2, and it's entitled Peek at Your Privacy Settings. Do you know who's peeking at you? So think about seatbelts for a moment. You know, seatbelts are something that if you're my age and even quite a bit older than I am, you realize that seatbelts have been around for a long time. Seatbelts save over, statistics show that seatbelts save over 2,000 lives a year. Not everyone have always had seat belts. Not all cars have had seat belts. They early on in the 1900s, I know to some that seemed like a long time ago if you were born after 2000, but it's not that long ago. I was born in the 1900s as well, while it was in the latter part of 1900s. So, while seat belts save lives today, in order for that to happen, you've got to wear them. I'm not the best at wearing seat belts. I have to remind myself to put on my seatbelt. It is a habit that we need to get into. It does obviously save lives. Car companies starting back on January 1st, 1968, were required by law to provide seat belts in all seating positions. It wasn't until 1983 that laws kicked in to require people to actually wear them. I kind of wonder today, and why, and maybe some of you can help me with this. It's in education. Why do we not put seatbelts on school buses? We talk about wearing our seatbelts. We teach our children to wear seatbelts, and then they get on a school bus and there's no seatbelt there. Maybe there are seatbelts on. I think there's not, but maybe I'm wrong on that. Maybe there are seatbelts. I just wonder about some things how we do sometimes. But no doubt when this law was put into place in 1968, as far as putting them in cars, it wasn't until 1983 that the laws kicked in to require people to wear them. It's different if a car company says we're going to put them in versus the law saying you've got to wear them. People whined and complained about the law, and many of you definitely may remember that when laws were in place it was a law to wear your seatbelt. And you may remember some griping and complaining. There's usually always that one person that will claim, yeah, I heard you're safer without your belt. I've heard of someone being thrown from the car and that's what saved them. Well, if that's ever happened, and I'm sure it has, there's exceptions to just about everything. That's not the general rule. That's just how we are sometimes. If it's inconvenient, then we complain about it. If it's something different, we complain about it. And until it saves our lives, it's not any good. A lot of times we don't like safety features. Today when you log on to things, I know you probably have this problem too. It's gotten to where you have to log in, then you have to have a code sent to you. And I know I'm with you. I'm like, man, what is all this? And sometimes other people can get into their own things better than we can, because I forget my passwords all the time and codes, and I'll write it down somewhere, and then I forget where I write it down, and I change my password, and I don't write it down right then. So 5 minutes later when I log in, I don't know my password. So maybe you've gone through that too, but they are there for our protection. Safety features are there for our protection. I'm going to summarize a story here that he talks about. It says a 44-year-old Los Angeles man, and this has to do with people knowing where you live by your social media accounts. A 44-year-old Los Angeles man was arrested, it's been a few years ago, using location information from people's Facebook and Instagram photos to break into people's homes and steal certain items. It's a true story. There are people that have broken into places, and this is a specific example, because they would follow people around, and wherever they checked in, they knew where they were, and they would follow them on Facebook. And there are creepy people. There are people out there to get our children. They're there to even hurt them sometimes because of following them. We need to teach our children that there are certain people, not to have our children paranoid. I'm totally against that. We don't need to make our children paranoid. We don't need to act like that everybody's out to get them or no one's safe. There are safe people. There are safe places to be. We just need them to be aware. Let's not go overboard with it, but let them be aware that what's on their social devices, on their phones and iPads and computers, there are people that can see that. And just like this man who broke into the home, there are people that can follow them because of what's on their social media. Privacy settings are very important. I'm sure many of you have used that. I know a lot of times when you log on to social media for the first time, maybe it's a new app for you. Maybe you're logging on to Instagram or creating an account on Twitter. It will ask you a bunch of questions about privacy settings. And then your phone has, if you're not aware of this, become aware. You can get online, you can search, you can find out about these privacy settings. You need to go through your phone and look at your privacy settings as well. You may not even realize what all you have open to people. Definitely for our children, let's make sure that their privacy settings are set how we would want to be. You know, really, when you think about it, smartphones are in the scheme of how long the world's been around, United States have been founded. The smartphone is a very new invention still. It wasn't until 2012 that the majority of people in the U.S. owned smartphones. If I think back, I think that's about the time that I probably got my first iPhone. I was a Razor guy. I was that flip phone, that gray flip phone that just had the numbers on it, the letters. You had to punch about 4 times to get a letter up to text. I didn't text much then. Now I text all the time. That's my main form of communication. So around 2012 was when the majority of people in the U.S. owned smartphones. So really our world is technically just beginning to figure out some of this stuff. And that's, your phone is like that old 1962 GM car that came equipped with metal connectors for seat belts called anchor plates. Some of you may remember that. Only if the particular U.S. state required them. Some states did and some states didn't. People ignored seat belts for literally decades. In the same way, many of us choose to ignore privacy settings, and we even may go through our phone and think, man, I ain't got time for that. I don't have time to change all those things. We need to make some time for it. We need to become wise about our privacy settings. There are ways that, even on Facebook, that you can restrict who sees your post. You know, there's that setting that is only friends of your friends can see the post, or you can let anyone see the post. If you open that up to anyone, then it literally anybody that is friend of someone that you may be friends with or not friends with, that's set in there to where they can get into where you are and look at things maybe you wouldn't normally want to see them. So let's set our privacy settings, and that's really what this chapter is about, to equip us and help us to be more knowledgeable about setting up our privacy settings. Also, location settings is very important. Location settings, let's turn many of those things off if we can. Location settings tell people where you are. This feature is pretty neat when you lose your phone, of course. Then you can use features like Find My iPhone to figure out where you left it. But if you aren't careful, your location settings will also tell that same guy in the basement somewhere where he can see you and know where you are, and he's just doing that to get out for you or to know where you're located. So let's just be careful for that. Keep your location settings on for your device overall, and then you can go in specific apps. If you didn't know that, you can go in specific apps to be able to adjust those. So like in Snapchat, for example, and again, these things change so often, so this may be that it's changed since the writing of this book. But in Snapchat, it says you might consider adjusting who can see your location. Under settings, you can choose a ghost mode, or at least handpicking, only select trusted friends who will see you in Snap Maps. Now, I don't have Snapchat, so none of that may be current. If it's not, if you'll let me know, I can rephrase that and change that of what it's updated to today. But I know for sure that you're able to set settings so that certain people cannot know exactly where you are, and those privacy settings and location services are very important to do that. You know, sometimes when you're signing in for something, maybe you're signing in for Facebook or Twitter, it's giving you this new identity or entity to access your friends and to post and information. And if you feel like that you need to do this, you need people to be able to see your things, then go ahead. But let's just be careful and know that there are times that people can track you down. And really we're thinking of as well for our children. Let's be very careful to put our children through or not withhold information from them that may help them. Grab your child's phone. Just do it and go through their settings and be sure that if you as a parent, you want your children to have limited settings, limited privacy settings, go ahead and do that for them. It's really not up to them. It's up to you. Again, as we talked about, when they get to be older teens, let's let them decide a few things as well. Let's not be too controlling and give them no room for maneuver. So just another few minutes here. let's think about some questions to ponder. And I encourage you that if this is the first night that you've viewed our YouTube video, go back and watch the others as well. They're posted on YouTube. These lessons build on one another. We're not going to say the same thing over every week or give the same suggestions over, so you may miss some things if you don't look back. Here's some questions that are in the book that I want to relay to you, and maybe these are things that can help you ponder on some things. Number one, over half of parents never talk with their kids about privacy settings. Why do you think this is? So as a parent, let's get on our children's phones and let's look at the privacy settings. If you're uncomfortable with your own, maybe look at your own privacy settings and see what they're set to. Number two, have you ever given out your information or access to your data and regretted it later? Maybe you have, maybe you haven't. Number three, did any of these recommended privacy practices make you think twice? Which one? So what are the practices maybe that you've had in the past on privacy that you want to change? Number four, who will you allow to see your stuff? Maybe it's that you don't mind everybody seeing your things. I hope a bunch of people see this video. I hope this video is as public as it can be. There are some things that we want to be public. We don't mind them being public. So just decide that for yourself. Number five, what might you need to adjust in your location controls and why? And then number six, who is a trusted adult you can talk with about these kinds of choices, especially for our children that may be joining or watching it at some point in the future? Who's a trusted adult you can talk to or talk with about these kinds of choices? When will you connect with them next? So children, kids, young adults, if you're listening, what's some things you need to talk about with someone else? So think about our privacy settings. While they may be a little inconvenient, it's kind of like seat belts. Maybe, most people down today are very good at buckling up. It's just something we're used to now. Most people are for sure, young people, they never thought probably about a time, unless they've been told that there wasn't seat belts around. There wasn't car seats around. Now there are. Let's use them. Let's seat buckle on our Facebook and Twitter and any social media app, YouTube, whatever it may be. Let's just be smart, or try to be as smart as we can about our location settings. So next week, we're going to talk about tip number 3. As far as I know, we will move that back to next Monday night. So a week from this coming Monday night at 7 o'clock. If it has to change, then we'll let you know. But tip number 3, nothing you post is temporary. Have you ever wished you could unpost something? I have wished that before. I have posted things I wish I had not posted. Also on that, let me encourage you to do this. I've done this before, and I wish I had done it more. You could, sometimes just getting things off of our chest helps. Maybe you're just mad at someone, or just irritated, upset, struggling, whatever it may be. Go ahead, and if you have to, if it makes you feel better, go ahead and get on Facebook. Go ahead and type out your message that you want to type, but just don't send it. Don't hit send. Type it out, let it sink in, let it help you if it can help you, and erase it. Don't hit send. Be careful what we post. Maybe it's that way, and when we want to talk to someone about something that maybe we're going to say something we shouldn't. Write it down. Write it on a piece of paper, and throw it away. Don't say it. And a lot of times, it helps us to get those things out of our system. So if it helps you to get it out of your system, write it down in the post, type it in, and erase it. Don't post it. All right, we'll see you next week, week from Monday at 7 o'clock, and I hope you all have a very good night.